Hello, dear friends. It's Rena and Cynthia from ourvoice.club, and we are here continuing our conversation about Danion Brinkley's book, Saved by the Light. And in this part, we're going to talk about part two, which is the life review and how important that is.
Yeah, the all important life review.
Yep. And ourvoice.club supports you in your awakening as you're expressing your authentic self through developing your connection to source. So here we go with the life review.
Yeah, so last time in part one, we talked about the steps that seem to be real similar with everybody's near death experience and what they go through, and how Danion clearly laid out how he experienced himself. He went above his body, he saw all that was happening, and he went through the tunnel. He met a being of light that helped him. And now we're in this really important part where he is doing a life review. And he talks about that this was a really interesting and revealing and shocking kind of part of the after death experience was when we go through a life review with our angel, what she calls his being of light, where you are shown absolutely everything you've done, ever done. Your whole life is reviewed. Now, it's funny, we think in terms of years and, months or decades. And I don't know how you go through someone's life in a life review. It's almost like time stands still or something.
There is no time up there.
Yeah, that's what
Right.
I've heard, right? There's no time. So he talks about when he was young. It's really interesting. Again, Rena and I highly recommend you buy the book today. Um, he talks about when he was young, he became a bully. There were bullies picking on him, and his father taught him how to be strong and stand up to these bullies. And then he became one.
Mm-hmm.
And with his being of light, he was shown the many, many instances where he was in a fist fight after school. One time he ran home and got a salt gun, which used to be kind of a popular thing. It was like a potato gun or a salt gun,
Huh.
where there were a group of girls sitting on a fence, and he ran home to get his salt gun, and he sprayed these girls on their back with the salt gun. They didn't know what hit them. And when he was going through that, he could see it playing out again as if on a television show or a movie. But then he felt his sense of glee and, oh, ha ha, I got you. And then he experienced that whole scene from the girl's perspective.
It was turned inside out, and he became the person that he was hurting or attacking or whatever it
Yeah.
happened to be, right?
Yeah. So imagine, this is so important. I keep saying that word
Mm-hmm.
because if we knew that everything we did would be reviewed by us after we die, and that all the harm or hurt and hurt feelings that we've caused others, we would see it again, we would relive it again, and experience it from their perspective.
Right.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is huge.
So I was saying to Cynthia when we were discussing this, I said, what if we had a world where we taught our children that everything they thought, everything that they did, when they had their life review, they were going to experience it from both sides? You would think twice. And as a community, if we all did that, wouldn't you think twice about saying that ugly thought to someone or talking behind their back or
Hitting your brother or sister,
yeah,
or yelling at your mother,
spanking your children?
spanking your children, telling them to go to their room for 3 hours, and
or ignoring someone when they're trying to get your attention. I mean, it can get even minute to neglect or abuse in any way. And here we are, we're going to be experiencing it from their perspective during our life review.
This is so big, and I cannot. It's so empowering for me to read that now because I'm not there yet. I'm still here, and I have a chance now in my life to straighten up and have good behavior, not because I'm going to see it from the other side, but because I want to.
Right.
Because intrinsically that motivates me to be a better person to each person, because we're so connected.
You know what it does, Cynthia, is it brings empathy. It
Yes.
brings you to a place of,
Hmm.
before you take the action, to have empathy for the other person, what that person might feel. If I say and do this, what might be the result of that
Yeah.
in that other person? And then thinking, is this something that I really want to say or do? And most of the time, if it's negative, it'll be no, you don't, you just don't want to go there.
Hmm.
And that is raising our vibration and bringing us even higher to
Hmm.
where we are.
Hmm. And I think that really also reinforces this idea. I very much believe that we are intrinsically good,
Hmm.
that the more connected we are to source, to God, creator, whatever you want to call it, that the closer we get to our divinity, we know that our actions have repercussions and consequences.
It's a ripple effect too.
And that ripple effect goes out. And Danion talks about that when he did something, let's say he beat up a boy after school, not only did he feel the boy's pain when he was doing his life review, but he actually felt the parents, and what the parents felt, shame and guilt, and whatever they felt, he felt the parents, he felt the brothers and sisters of that person. So this is incredibly powerful, this idea that we will experience the other person's pain and emotions, and their family and their cousins and their uncles and aunts and grandparents, that the ripple effect is a real phenomenon. It's not made up, it's real.
Right. Can I just read a little quote from him?
Yeah.
Starting on page 13, he says, "The depth of emotion I experienced during this life review was astonishing. Not only could I feel the way both I and the other person had felt when an incident took place, I could also feel the feeling of the next person they reacted to. I was in a chain reaction of emotion, one that showed how deeply we affected one another. Luckily, not all of it was bad," he adds, which I think is great to also bring
Yes,
up,
to balance.
that
Yeah.
we have this, when we do good deeds and pay it forward and have kindness, that appreciation and love and forgiveness and whatever the other person is
Acceptance.
feeling
Hmm. Hmm.
is also what we review. So we
Right.
review all of the good that we've done as well as the
All of the
negative.
bad, yeah. And the ripple effect takes place there too, and probably in a greater sense. I always think of the power of love, the force of love is greater than the force of hate.
Hmm.
So that when we do good deeds in the world, it ripples out. And the parents feel good, and the sister and brother feel happy, and the joy we can bring to others by serving others, it's immeasurable.
Yeah.
It's immeasurable.
Another important piece to all of this is this concept that all of our thoughts are being heard all the time. There is
Oh, yeah.
no secrecy.
Yes.
We walk around in this little third dimensional world of ours, this material world, thinking that the thoughts we have inside of our head belong only to us. Thinking that if the surveillance camera isn't on us or somebody isn't watching, that if we go and sneak something or do something we're not supposed to, no
Yeah.
one will know.
Yeah.
Well, do
Absolutely
we have
not
news for
true.
you?
Yeah, we have a false concept of privacy here in this third dimensional world, and one of my favorite channels long ago said, if you think you can close the curtains and nobody sees you, think again. Every single thing we do in this life is known in the spiritual world.
Yep.
Everything we do. If we steal that piece of bubble gum, like I did when I was 3 or 4, I took some gum out of a little 7-Eleven store, I think,
Shame on you.
and my parents promptly caught me. And of course, I returned it and never stole again because I thought, well, that was dumb. Um, if we steal, if we hurt, if we aren't honest, if we tell a lie, every single thing is known. That's a huge concept and something that I have to think about and ponder whenever I think it's privacy or I'm private.
Right.
Everything we're thinking and doing and feeling is known and can be seen
Yeah.
by
Known,
by all
seen,
in the spiritual world.
and will be reviewed.
And it will be reviewed. Yeah. Furthermore, guess what? With our being of light, with our guardian angels, we get to see it again
Hmm.
and relive it so we can gain the wisdom from it. Now, after this life review, and Daniel goes into great detail, and we don't want to give away the book. We want to make sure that you get it. But he goes into great detail about things that he did in his life that were very painful. He got to relive them and got to experience the harm he caused and the good. Um, and since he died twice, he got to do it 2 times.
Yeah.
And the second time he died and came back, he also did it again with the same being of light. So that was also really interesting. But I did want to say in finishing that he expected to be judged. We've been taught in church and religious sort of traditions that, oh, we'll be judged and we're all going to hell or heaven, and that there's that judgment. Well, Daniel was very shocked when he found out that his guardian angel, his being of light, did not judge him at all. He judged himself as he went through his life review. It was Daniel judging his own actions and behavior, but that this being of light had no judgment whatsoever. He was full of love and forgiveness. And then the being of light asked him, can you forgive yourself, Daniel? And can you forgive all of those others who hurt you in your life? And Daniel wasn't sure at first. He really had to think about that. What do you mean, forgive people who hit me or hurt me? And the being of light telepathically communicated with him, can you forgive yourself? Can you forgive all others? And do you know what the being of light said? If you can't forgive, you do not advance.
Mm-hmm.
In the spiritual world, you will not advance. You will stay at the level of where you are. There's no advancement without forgiveness.
Forgiveness is key.
And forgiveness is...
We're
going to have several videos on forgiveness because that is really, really...
It's a huge theme.
Really key.
It's one of the keystones for ascension. One of the absolute keystones to ascension.
Yeah.
I just want to close on another quote that I'm just reviewing here from this book, if that's okay, on this one. So on page 20, Danion says, as the being of light moved away, I felt the burden of this guilt being removed. I had felt the pain and anguish of reflection, but from that I had gained the knowledge that I could use to correct my life. I could hear the being's message in my head again, as if through telepathy. Humans are powerful spiritual beings meant to create good on earth.
Amen.
This good isn't usually accomplished in bold actions, but in singular acts of kindness between people. It's the little things that count because they are more spontaneous and show who you truly are.
Oh, what a beautiful...
So isn't that a powerful way to end this segment?
Yes. Now we are going to do part 3, and we're going to go into a little bit into what happened to Daniel after the life review. He was shown a task. And when he was shown a task by several beings of light, he knew that he had to come back. So we will be doing part 3 and what happens when you're given a life task.
All right. So remember that everything you learn and everything you do, that you are the creator of your reality. So design the best version of your reality that you possibly can and breathe that into existence.
Breathe it into manifestation.
Absolutely. All right. So
thanks for listening, everyone.
Yep. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in part 3.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.